Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Monday. It tells me I am live, but last week, James
Right.
and I talked for a solid 20 minutes. So if you guys can't hear me, if you can hear me, say, yes, we can hear you. Let's confirm because that was just silly.
Right. It was craziness.
Yeah. I was going to do so many things today and that I didn't do. So we're just gonna play the good old Hillary Duff intro. So we will see you guys in about 30 seconds.
Oh.
Let's go back to the beginning.
My name is Cody Brown, and you've got to meet my family. I'm a polygamist, but we're not the polygamists you think you know. I have 3 awesome wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine. My family's on the verge of a huge change because love should be multiplied, not divided.
Yay, people can hear us. Woohoo!
Right.
All right. Before we jump into it, and tonight we will go Sister Wives Forbidden Love. I think people I saw last week said they like when Forbidden Love is at the end. So if they want to dip out, they can dip out. But you guys should really give it a shot. But, I just need to bitch for 1 second about the Olympics. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I've been posting nonstop in my stories this gymnastics scandal with Jordan Childs.
Yeah.
I've been a fan of gymnastics for about 5 whole minutes, so I'm very impassioned about this. I cannot imagine working my whole life, right? And I'm not sure how old Jordan Childs is. I know Simone Biles was the oldest on the team, and she's in her like late 20s. But it's by no means geriatric. But I cannot imagine getting to that level of your athleticism to be able to go to the Olympics and then have this fuckery happen. Have you been following this story, James?
Yes, I have. And she's 23.
23. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But in fairness, if we talk about like a sport like Olympics, first and foremost, that is a very expensive sport to be a part of.
Yes.
So for her when she started doing gymnastics, she was probably about 5, 6 years old. She was barely walking in order to reach this level. And so there's like when you talk about commitment to the sport, like the parents, everybody is committed to the sport to get her through it. And then for her to reach the pinnacle of success with regard to the sport and only to be kind of screwed over and then shimmied about as far as the meddling and how it was going to work and whether they were going to give it to her, whether they were going to take it away, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I've seen situations where people have been, really afoul of the Olympic rules and they haven't had their medals taken. Even when if they hit the podium and they get their medal, that's it. And the only time they pull it is if they find out that you might have been
cheating or doping.
Right, enhanced.
That should be the only reasons why your medals are taken away. And not even so in 2002, and I will reference this because I don't even know if this can go to the Supreme Court. We're talking about like international politics, but this is getting real sus. And I'm just like, there is fuckery afoot. In 2002, when the Winter Olympics were in Salt Lake City, the best teams were like, or the pair figure skating, it came down to like the pair to beat was this Canadian couple, but somehow Russia won the gold. They placed first. And I remember, I think like Scott Hamilton was commenting like what? Like, how did that happen? Were we watching the same performance? And people were so confused. And it turns out there was legitimate fuckery afoot with the, sorry, I'm saying the F word so much, but the judges were essentially bought off by Russia It was
Right.
like proven to be true. But even though it was like proven to be true, they didn't take away the gold medals from the Russians. They just gave gold medals to the Canadians.
Right. Right.
So I don't know why, when this is absolutely, and to be totally honest, this poor Romanian gymnast, it's not her fault either. That it was the judging panel's fault. They set the score incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Child's team noticed it I don't know how they could have noticed it faster, but they were 4 seconds late. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Right. Right. Well, and the weird part is, I mean, in a weird shot of it, I would feel weird being the Romanian gymnast, because all this to do is like, look, I don't even want to smoke at this point. Like, I would like to get a medal, but I'm sure they're sitting back like, I don't want any part of this, because the last thing you want to do is go down in history famous for taking a medal from somebody.
Well, you know, the next Olympics are in Los Angeles, honey, and I'm just going to tell you, as a LA native, try some bullshit like this in Los Angeles. It's not going to go over well for you. Okay? So,
and Jordan Childs, it sounds like she's refusing to give the medal back. So I don't know how this is actually going to work.
I hope she hit it. I will help her hide it.
Right. Yeah, they said the Americans are working with us, so I don't know.
Well, I just and the reason why I'm like so heated up right now is I just got an alert on my phone that the US appealed and that got denied. And so I don't know what's next for this process, but I am just it seems so cruel. And Jordan earned 3rd place based off of her difficulty score and her performance. This was a judging error. Right. And now even if they were to say, hey, you know what, here's a bronze medal, now it's ruined, it's tainted.
You know what this actually reminds me of? A few years ago, during the Academy Award presentation, there was a movie called Moonlight, and it was Moonlight and it was a dancing movie, like I forget the name of the other movie. Isn't that terrible?
At the Oscars?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I know exactly what they said the wrong. Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, it's the other movie." And the guy comes up, he reads the card. I was like,
"Yeah,
what was it?
La La Land."
La La Land.
Yeah.
And the guy, director and producer from La La Land, reads the card, and you know what he does? He realizes that there was a mistake, and instead of him standing there doing an acceptance speech, and too bad, so sad, they gave me the award. He recognized that there was a mistake, and he said, "You know what? People from Moonlight, come up here and get your award." Now, in a perfect world, the Romanian team, as well as the judges and other folks at the Olympics, would recognize that there was a mistake and say, "You know what? You got keep your medal." And let that be that. And it wouldn't even be a big deal. There wouldn't be a big brouhaha. To be honest with you, most of us probably wouldn't even be talking about it.
Right.
But because they mishandled this small thing that could have been easily rectified, now it's turning into a big issue. And this could have like a big rippling effects later on, as far as participation, as far as contribution, as far as people actually kicking in for certain things, giving certain amenities to the Olympics and the Olympic teams and folks putting it together. So this is just a dumb hill to die on.
And it tainted what was like 2 weeks of just like feel good camaraderie. We had pommel horse guy. We had the guy that broke the pole vault because his dong was too big. And like, we had all these like warm, hilarious moment, people getting engaged. Like it was good feels of Snoop Dogg just being Snoop Dogg, just right. It was just good times all around. And then this to end the Olympics. And it's like, we just can't have nice things, apparently.
Well, I mean, if you want to keep it all the way a stack, you also had Tom Cruise jump off a building for apparently no reason, because he's Tom Cruise. But
Yeah, we didn't need that for
yeah,
sure.
during the open ceremony. When I saw it, just as a quick aside, when I saw that, I said, this dude is legitly gonna, delete himself on
Ugh.
film. Like, because
Yeah.
that's what he's working towards. But
Is he in his 60s?
somewhere around there. Tom
He's
Cruise.
got, yeah, and it's like, what is our next Olympics going to be sponsored by Scientology? Like,
Right.
you can't have Tom Cruise or John Travolta in something without me immediately thinking they're cuckoo.
Yeah, they're coming for it. He's 62. But
okay, my parents are 63, so he could be my dad.
He's jumping off of stuff. But the whole thing is that it was also a feel good Olympics, because if we keep it all the way a stack, the Americans were killing it this year. They were crushing. Like, they were crushing it.
Basketball. Oh my god.
The gymnast teams, men and women.
Yeah.
Crushing.
Yes.
Oh, it was crazy how good it was.
So good.
Of course, we had a good time, but
it's like, I hate the IOC that it went out like this.
Right.
Like, that sucks.
Yeah, it was just not. It's a bad look. It is like, this is one of those PR moments.
I'd like to think best intentions of everyone, but I've seen reports that this was an all black podium.
Yeah.
And
folks didn't like it. Yeah. Whoa.
Like I said, try some shit in 2028 in LA. That's not gonna go over well.
It's going down. It's going down. But it's just, it's like I said, this is a complete PR nightmare. I know that there's, in some office somewhere, there's a PR guy and an image consultant literally ripping their hair out at the roots, trying to figure out why they decided to do this way. Yeah, like, there's a million, because they've had Olympics where like some shaky stuff is going down and they weren't sure about judging, or there was a missed call or something. After the Olympics is over, they quietly contact everybody involved and they do whatever they have to do as far as medal swaps and title swaps and all that. And the general public doesn't know about it unless you actually pay attention to the sport. Right now, all eyes are on the sport. And so if you do fuckery right now, everybody is watching you do it. It's just I don't know. This was completely mishandled.
But speaking of, and this will segue us into Sister Wives. Did you catch the Robin Brown doppelganger in the breakdancing? Ray Gunn, 36 years old, white female from Australia. I'm not from Australia, but I am a 36-year-old white female, and I am not going to try my hand at breakdancing in the Olympics.
Well, you got to do what you got to do. Get your freak on. Dance like nobody's watching. All
New Yorkers, 1980s New Yorkers, where breakdancing was actually invented, are like, what the heck?
Yeah, right. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Oh my, I saw so many posts in Reddit like, what, Robin, is that you with this poor
as crazy as it is, she does look a lot like Robin. Yeah. She does look a lot like her.
And then I saw someone commented that I guess breakdancing is not going to be a part of the 2028 Olympics. We had one shot and we couldn't get it together.
Yeah, couldn't close the deal, couldn't seal the deal.
No.
But in fairness, this looks like Robin like 15 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm. And about the same skill level. So I mean, Robin could have been an Olympian. Maybe not a Diesel Jeans model, but definitely an Olympian.
I wonder, because so many people have kind of latched onto that as though it was true. I wonder if it gets big enough, if Diesel Jeans will come out with some kind of statement like, she was never employed here with us. She was never one of our models.
Like when Taylor Swift said, I'd like to be excluded from this narrative or something.
Right. St. Cootie a cease and desist. Like, please stop saying this.
That would be funny. I mean, there is nothing that I want to talk about more than diets and body issues, body images. Right, James? I was like, I bet you James was real excited about this episode.
This hands down, like I think I did like 2, 3, maybe 4 videos about that. This episode, hands down, is one of the cringiest for me. Is one of the cringiest episodes in Sister Wives. Like there's so many things, especially with regard to like personal trainers, weight training, gyms, access to gyms, allowing people to feel like they're welcome in gyms. Like there's so many things that was wrong with this whole like episode. It's just like that damn trainer. Like, God love him. Like, he might be, and the craziest part is maybe he's a decent trainer. I don't know. But bro, you look horrible on this show. You look terrible. And you give trainers a horrible name. A horrible name.
We're gonna talk about it all. But this was all spearheaded by Mary, apparently. Mary has gotten herself a new hobby here in Las Vegas. This is season 3, episode 6. Wives diet woes.
Right.
And oh my God. Justice for Janelle this episode. Like truly justice. I mean, the OG3, but really specifically Janelle, because trainer Bill straight up basically told Janelle she was like moments away from death when she weighed in. And like
yeah, he looked at her like, I don't know how you made it here.
Like she was one of the Slayton sisters on 1,000 Pound Sisters. It's like, okay, yeah, we got some weight issues we could talk about, but I mean, this isn't my 600-pound life, guy. Like, calm down.
Right. My guy, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to step on any toes, but one of my pet peeves when it comes to this type of issue is that I don't say one of my pet peeves because I have a couple and I have them numerated. No,
take us to church, James.
Right. My first pet peeve, one, stop talking to people who are overweight like they're idiots. They have a issue maybe with eating, where they have a poor relationship with food, but they're not stupid. They're not stupid. You think that Janelle or anybody who is overweight can't see? They don't have mirrors in their universe. They don't know what they look like. You think they walking around and they think that they're slim and trim and they're super fit and they falling out of their pants? No. They completely understand their situation. Not only do they know that they're overweight, but they understand about the health issues. They also have to deal with other people, and I'm sorry, but this is killing me. They also have to deal with other people looking at them, staring at them. When they went to the restaurant, and I know we're going to talk about it, but anytime they go out to eat, they feel self-conscious because they know that they're overweight. And anything that they order and they want to sit down and enjoy, they have to look around because people might be looking at them and making judgments about what they have on their plate and they're putting in their mouth. So she understands way more than you give her credit for that she has a weight issue. So you don't have to explain it to her. I'm sure when she talks to her actual medical professional and she goes see the doctor tells her. And that's another issue that I have, and I apologize that I'm going off a little bit.
No, go off. This is exactly the conversation that needs to have.
Right.
That needs to be had.
Because one of the issues that I have is that they get people who are overweight to a point where they're afraid to go to the doctors because they feel bad about what the doctor's going to say to them when they walk into the room and they're sitting in the examination room. They're afraid that the doctor's going to look at them and sound just like this jackass. They're afraid that the doctor, or they're embarrassed that the doctor is going to tell them, oh, you're overweight, your blood pressure is high, you have this, you have that. Like, they don't know. They completely understand where they are physically and what they have to do. Now,
we are fat. We are not stupid.
Right. Exactly. They're not stupid. They're not stupid. Now, they might have an issue with their relationship with food, but where does that come from? They may have an issue with their hormones. So we have to find out about that. They may have an issue with their metabolism. So we have to find out about that. There are a lot of things that go into weight gain, more things than just they're lazy and they overeat. And I'm going to stop it right there. Thank you, guys. I'm crawling off my soapbox now, but this episode, like I said, is the cringiest shit. And especially the fact that they making her feel less than. and you do it in front of the other wives. These women are kind of frenemies with her.
At best.
At best. Some of them outright.
I'm going to give Cody big kudos right now because we did not even see him the first half of this episode. And I thought that was a smart move on his part to not be involved in the talking about his wife's weight and bodies and what his preference is, because I have never liked Robin less than in this episode. And I realize it's so unfair. Like, just as Janelle is predisposed to her body type, as is Robin. I'm not gonna shame Robin, but it's like when she's at the buffet, oh, I can't eat. I'm like, shut up. You just shut your mouth.
Oh, I have to have all it was she wanted to have her food made special for her. Because that's what they were doing.
Well, and it's so funny because, trainer Bill's weighing all the wives. And at the end, Robin gets up there because we're going to go through. We know how much all these ladies weigh. They deserve hazard pay for the emotional distress of filming this episode. Because trainer Bill shouts Janelle's weight all the way to the back so that the people with hearing loss, you can make sure they know how much Janelle weighs. Right. But Robin gets on the scale and she weighs 150 something pounds. And I'm like, okay, that's skinny, but that's not that's not Kendall Jenner. Right. And then I'm like, oh yeah, she's pregnant.
Which is why she was so happy to go. I get the shade too. And I don't like the pity parties bullshit shade where she's, oh well, Cody likes them chunky. He like them curvy. Yeah, okay, all right. That's why he's bragging about you being a Diesel Jean model. Got you. I got you.
What I loved this too. So Mary tells us, and James, you might not be familiar with women's clothing sizing, so I'll just. Yeah, I am. Mary tells us that when she got married, she was a size 10.
Right.
When now she is a size 14. That's 2 pant sizes.
Right.
That's a bowel movement for some of us. I'm like, really, after 20 years of marriage, that's not bad, Mary. I don't know what you're complaining about.
Mary was not. I don't want to be an ass, and I don't want to be an ass, but Mary was not a 14. That was not 14. You know what I mean?
You know what though? Depending on I've noticed this with kids' clothing. Some stores that could just vary so wildly. H&M kids' clothes run so big, and Target, Cat and Jack runs more true to size, even on the small side. And so my son can be a solid 2T in Target, but he is swimming in 2T in H&M. So it's as a fluffy lady, when we find places where we can fit smaller sizes, we shop at those places.
It just started swapping out the mediums with the smalls all of a sudden.
Exactly. And I learned early on, you can always cut the tag out. Right. And then nobody knows.
Well, and this is kind of that thing too, where, when you listen to weight and, even dress sizes, oh, this person's a 14, this person's a 10, this person's whatever, 16, this person is a 120, 140, 160. The truth of the matter is people carry their weight differently. So not everybody who's a 10 looks like a 10. Some 10s are banging 10s, some 10s, not so much. Some 14s, holy smokes. Some 16s got, good gravy. So it really depends on the person. And that's why I'm not a big fan. Even with the scale is important, but it's a tool when you're trying to lose weight. It can't be the end all. You look at the scale and the scale will tell you what your level of fitness is, because that's not accurate. It's some information, but it's not the entire book. It's like reading one chapter of a 20 chapter book and think you have everything figured out. And the fact that the damn trainer pretended, or at least it came off that way, maybe because of editing, whatever, but it came off that way, and it gave misinformation to people who may be struggling with weight. and it discourages them from participating
Mm-hmm.
and actually improving themselves. And that's ridiculous to me.
You know, I found Janelle so relatable. I mean, with my own just journey with weight, my entire life, especially like after having kids and, you know, going just through your 20s and how easy it is to gain and lose weight, and then your 30s everything just kind of slows down, and then you have a couple kids and it's like
Right.
and Janelle's kind of like, you know, the pounds just started slowly creeping on and they didn't come off, and I'm like, girl, same.
Right. And that happens. Like, you know what happens when you start getting older? You come out of high school, your metabolism starts slowing down. One. Two, life happens. Like you said, you start having kids, you go into a relationship, you're comfortable in your relationship. Hell, you get a job and you actually start making some money so you can start actually eating some real food, as much food as you actually want to eat. You get a car. Cars are a big thing, like especially here in America. That's part of the reason why I think that typically we're heavier than the rest of the world, especially in the European world, because in most of Europe, their cities are designed to be walkable. Whereas here in some, like around my area, if you don't have a car, you're stuck like Chuck. You know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of, like, you can walk maybe a quarter of a mile at best. I don't even think that far, but you can walk a little bit and then all of a sudden it's road. So like we just don't have walkable areas.
Right.
You know,
and like public transit is not really a thing most places.
Right.
So, yeah.
Because I've even heard Europeans talk about like their eating experience or their night out experience. So they'll go to the restaurant. Let's go get something to eat. They'll walk to the restaurant, and then after they eat, they'll say, "Hey," and their food is a little different too, which makes a difference. And then they'll say, "Hey, do you want some coffee? You want to go to the cafe?" And then they'll walk to the coffee place. Here in America, you drive to the restaurant, and then if you want to have coffee afterwards, you want to hit that Starbucks, you might have to drive another 15, 20 minutes to the Starbucks.
Right.
You know what I mean? So nothing is close to each other. So we don't have that physical activity experience or activity level that a lot of people in the Western world have, you know?
Yeah. So my grandmother was Dutch, and she's from in the Netherlands. Bicycling is like one of the main forms of transportation. So yeah, it's a lot more there. You just cardio. It's simple cardio.
Right.
It's just a lot more of your everyday life, more so than here in the United States, for sure. Ruth, I rewatched Sarah from 2 years ago. Now it's like a different person. I'm telling you, like cutting out alcohol. I just rewatched a video of mine from 2 years ago, and the alcohol bloat is like out of control.
Right.
It looks like it's a pin in me and I would deflate.
Well, that's the thing too, is that you have access to a lot more when you're older. You don't have time. And that's a big thing, because when you're in high school and when you're younger, when your metabolism is higher, typically, you also tend to be more active and you tend to be doing more stuff because, you know, realistically, you have way more time than you do, especially once you get married, you start having kids start occupying a lot of your time. And especially as you start to get into activities, after school activities, how easy is it for you to come home and grab something quick, whether it's a fast food restaurant or you pop something in a microwave or the oven or the air fryer, and you're eating more processed food. And so therefore you start picking up weight because of that. Like there's a ton of reasons why people struggle with their weight. And even Janelle, she said in the book that Mary, because she has the one child, she tends to have more fresh food. This is what Mary said. She tends to have more fresh food. Whereas Janelle said in the book that when she deals with her kids, she has more processed food in her refrigerator. So the kids will come over and grab quick food in her refrigerator. That's what she's eating. She's at work all day. She comes home. She's not making an elaborate trad wife meal. She's trying to get the kids fed so they can get their homework done. They can get in bed and she can start her relaxed time. So that does it too, you know?
Yep. For sure. So Mary introduces us to Trainer Bill, who I feel like PTSD on behalf of Janelle, like and I think this guy had like good intentions. I don't know. He just
Right.
came off. So I've been to personal training sessions that have not gone down like this. That it's like, what are your goals? Where are you at? Like athletic, do you have any injuries? Like, should we avoid certain exercises? Never like, if we don't get on this right away, I don't know how much time you have left.
Right.
And
Like,
she's
look at
271, folks. Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
like, hey buddy, I see you. I'm sorry to disrupt your set. I saw you had your headphones on. Did you know she was 270? Like, you know,
271. Two. That was a 2.
we're gonna be passing out on flyers as you leave the gym, so you know exactly how much she weighs. Like that, I get, and this is the weird thing about it. I've done programs, I've done competitions and stuff, or weight loss competitions, all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we get trainers, and when it happens, or you're doing like for work, you do different things. But the weird part is that having friends, having gym buddies can be very helpful, because and when you have a gym buddy, it helps if you're able to be honest with your gym buddy, so that they know where you are, they understand what your goals are, and they can hold you accountable to what you're trying to do. So if they know, like, if you guys go out and you eat together and you're sitting down and they go get some fried chicken fingers and stuff, like, come on, man. You know what I mean? And come on, man.
Yeah.
All right, just break me off 1 or 2 of them, so that way you don't have all 5. But at least you have somebody who you can work with and you can be honest with. But at no point, and that's for accountability purposes, but at no point should you be engaged with a trainer and a group of people, whether they're your gym partners or not, or gym buddies or not, where you feel embarrassed about where you are and what your goal is going to be. That's not the purpose of a gym buddy. It's not to embarrass you into working out, it's to hold you accountable. And holding you accountable is gently holding you. They're not your pops. They're not your mama. They're there to hold. Hey man, come on.
Yeah.
What do you mean you're not coming to the gym? And even with the gym buddy, just the last point on that, the gym buddy is important because it can help you too. Because if you have issues with going to the gym, one of the things that you get when you have a gym buddy, you have to meet somebody, is that you feel compelled to go. So that way you're not missing. Like, it's easy if you're going by yourself to say, you know what, I don't feel like going tonight. But if you have somebody waiting for you, then you may feel a little more compelled to actually show up. Gym buddy,
But we're not, at least Janelle isn't the only one who had their weight put on blast. So we find out Christine weighs 222 pounds.
Right.
And what I love is Christine's reaction is, oh, that's not even the heaviest I've ever been.
Right. Glass half full, baby.
You're a real one for that, Christine. Then Mary on the scale, and trainer Bill's like, oh, you're 214 pounds. And Mary's like, I don't think so. I think it was like 213.8 or whatever.
Yeah. That doesn't matter. Yeah.
Like, of course, Mary would argue over like ounces, but hey, I get it. Right. An ounce loss is an ounce loss. So, and then of course Robin gets on the scale, and we have to, because it's like a manual scale, we have to reset the whole thing down to like the lower level, like a typewriter, like move everything back because we're weighing Robin now. And she's 150 pounds, soaking wet, 8 months pregnant, however far along she is. So good for you, Robin. You're so skinny.
So happy for you that you showed up today and not doing anything. I'm here for
Christine tells us, she says, I know people think I want to look like Robin, but I don't want to be that skinny. And I think it's more like, I don't think Christine wants to look like Robin, because I think she thinks it's weird how similar Robin looks to a young version of Cody's mom. Have you seen like a side by side?
No.
Okay. And this is one of the things I meant to do today, and I didn't. But young Grandma Janelle looks very similar. Hold on. Wait. Let me pull this up. Cody Brown mom.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Let's see.
Oh wow.
Hold on. Doesn't that look like Robin?
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what I was looking at. That's what I was looking at. Yeah.
So it's like there's some weirdness there. And I think Christine is like, yeah, I'm cool with like not looking like Cody's mom.
Right. Well, because last week you were saying that your husband and your brother share the same name, and you were a little weirded out by that.
I was weirded out by that. Yeah.
Right. I couldn't imagine dating somebody who looks like my mom. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Calling Dr. Freud.
Right. Again, it's just some things we can't be doing. You know what I mean?
Girls are the same. It's like their style is the same. And yeah, someone pointed that out many years ago when I first started watching Sister Wives. Like, doesn't Robin kind of look like a young Cody's mom? And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot unsee it.
Right.
Yeah. Cody,
well, they say you fall in love with your parents. So
they say girls marry their dads and boys
yeah.
marry their moms. I don't know. Yeah. Robin, the perpetual victim Robin is sitting there explaining to us, like, guys, Cody actually told her that he likes curvy girls. So she's actually at a disadvantage for being so skinny. All right.
Yeah. Right. And here's the thing. If you for real, for even having a conversation, not even having a conversation for when Robin had the conversation with Cody, but for you to come back and try to pretend like the conversation was going the way of the wives, because there's no way that Robin would have sat there and said, because Robin would have had a certain thing about herself if Cody was so in love and so enamored with the BBW, big beautiful women. If he was like that, she would be feeling a certain kind of way, which also takes it to the next level. How about the fact that Cody, all of a sudden, even though he wasn't attracted to Robin, no physical attraction, because he don't like sticks, he likes stones, he liked the buttercups. So why did he decide all of a sudden after 15, 20 years of marriage with these three big, beautiful women that he's all of a sudden going to start playing with the twig? You understand what I mean? Like, so that doesn't make any sense to me. If that's his swerve, everybody has a taste. Everybody has a style. Some people, it's about the physical form. Some people, it's about what they hear between the ears. It is what it is. But when it came down to it, there's something about Robin that was rocking enough for Cody to be able to go through a whole bunch of changes, even as we saw through the 18 seasons, including losing family members, that kept him in line. So I'm just, the whole playing it down bull stuff. You can keep that. You can miss me with that one.
And, Trainer Bill tells Janelle very seriously that she is at a 44 BMI,
right,
facing certain death if she does not whip her ass into shape.
First of all, why you drop your octaves? Like, what do you do? If you don't get, it's going to be terrible, Janelle. You're going to explode. Like, this ain't Mission Impossible, bitch. This is the gym. What are you talking about? If I don't lose a certain amount of weight, I'm going to explode. Like, come on, man.
We're just going to work on basic core strength with Janelle. And I was like, that is relatable.
Right.
I'm not looking to do like flips and tricks, just like whatever will get me a little pump on.
Right, exactly. I will say this though, God, the one upside that he had on the show, because I think that, like, I'll have to look it up, but I think that the one plus that he had on the show that I thought, as far as his training method, was the fact that at the time, like, Biggest Loser was a big thing. And I'm so glad that he didn't have her trying to do the exercise routines or training sessions that they have on The Biggest Loser, because that is absolutely catastrophic for somebody who is significantly overweight.
I
If you,
loved The Big Loser.
yeah,
I loved that show. I watched it with my parents whilst eating ice cream, chips, dip, all the things. So how's that for irony? But I loved The Biggest Loser. I have seen so many like exposés, like YouTube content creators that have done stories on just how toxic The Biggest Loser was. And like in retrospect, like, yeah, we went through a whole era of reality TV that was like real, like,
yeah,
like The Swan. I used to watch The Swan, and that
Mhm.
was all about like just getting heaps of plastic surgery.
Right. And even with like because Biggest Loser, you
Mhm.
have issues with the diet because they basically starve themselves. So you have people who walk out of there with like all kinds of thyroid issues and all kinds of different things of that nature, like serious medical conditions that actually affect them long term for the rest of their lives. They have problems.
Yeah.
Then like the workout routine specifically, you have them doing box jumps, you have them running and sprinting. Like if they are significantly overweight, to have somebody that heavy running on like even on treadmills or running up hills and things of that nature, it's horrible for their knees. Horrible for their knees, their hips, their ankles, joints. Like their body just can't sustain that type of weight.
Mhm.
And so it's crazy dangerous. So to his credit, he didn't do that.
Yeah.
That's as far as I can go with him.
I think one of the best, especially if you are struggling with your weight, one of the best workouts to do is swimming, honestly.
Yeah.
It won't put you at risk the way other workouts will. But yeah, The Biggest Loser, man. One of the trainer Bill, he was never like overweight or anything, but he had like the Widowmaker heart attack.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so, but I mean, he survived, but he almost died. Jillian Michaels, she's very controversial. She has all kinds of things to say about like Ozempic and stuff like that. And it's like, shut up. Shut up.
Right. Well, actually, yeah. I was about to spill some some tea, but the thing with well, because I think people know Jillian Michaels, she used to be overweight. Like she was,
Did she? I didn't know that.
yeah, she was a big one. She was biggie.
Oh.
But and she started working out. The guy, because she grew up not far from where I am now. And yeah. And so yeah, she broke up with a guy, and then that's when she went through her like fitness transformation point.
Okay.
But it also happened when she was younger. She didn't have the family and responsibility, so she didn't have a lot of the obstacles which would keep you from or could hinder your ability to be able to do or commit. One, two, it all depends on, like, there's a lot of factors that you have to work with when you're talking about weight loss. So people like Jillian, even though they're professionals and they may have been in a situation where they're wearing shoes, it's almost as though they don't understand, what it takes and what happens. And there's a psychological component that you have to address. Being a trainer, an effective trainer is able to talk to you about your relationship with food as well as where you are psychologically, so that you can understand what it is you need to do. And the big challenge that a lot of trainers are faced with is one, especially in the social media era where everybody expects to shed weight immediately and have the 6-pack abs, and it's not in the cards for everybody. But it's just teaching folks to learn to accept themselves. That's the hardest part, especially when you are overweight and you spend so much time not accepting yourself, not finding yourself attractive, worthy, or pretty, or whatever the case may be. And what that does is it sets you on a long track. No matter how far you progress, you can't see where you were and where you started. You can only see this fictional fantasy of where you want to be, and you can't appreciate the journey. And that's one of the things that when I hear guys like Bill, and that's why I got the hair on my back of my neck is standing up. But when I hear guys like him talk, That's what I hear. Like you're crushing her down. So even if she starts losing weight, she can lose a ton of weight, right? A metric ton of weight. She can lose it and be looking amazing. But she won't look in the mirror and she won't see any of that hard work. She'll only see the parts of her body that she needs to still work on. And that's all she'll ever see. And that is more, like I said, this is that whole conversation does more damage than if she would have went, instead of going to the gym, she would have went down to Kentucky Fried Chicken and got a bucket, 2-piece and a biscuit or whatever. Like that conversation was insane.
Yeah. So I mean, this episode was a short one, but it was, boy, was it jam packed. And we kind of have this subplot storyline of Cody inviting this like Episcopal pastor over to experience them in all their polygamy glory. And then they throw a birthday party for Leon. The boys come back. They had just spent the summer in Wyoming, and we see some shots of Garrison, and that was kind of like just a knife to the heart, because I was, you know, he's sitting there on the couch. It was his first summer going out there, and it's sad to see those moments, you know. So
I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that was tough. That was tough.
Yeah, because there was one point where he was standing there and he was holding Truly. Garrison was holding Truly, and like I said, he did like, oh man, and then he's standing there holding Truly. Peyton comes over to grab Truly, and then Cody sees that the camera is on him, and at least this is my assessment of the situation.
Yeah.
And he comes over and he's being, you know, dad of the year. And he's like, oh guys, what's going on? And he's trying to rub their heads. And at that moment, Garrison, you know, stepped back, pulled his hair down, and then walked off. And I could see in the look on his face, it kind of hit me because, you know, at that moment, it's kind of the feeling I had. I'll do an analogy. The feeling I had was kind of like when you see a parent who doesn't really, you know, that they don't really see their kids, but they know that there are people around who see them, and they try to pretend like they're super close and they have this connection with their kid. Like, come on, buddy, let's do this. And the kid is looking at them like, what the hell? You talking to me now?
Performative parenting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. A performative parenting. And that's the feeling that I had watching that. And that kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, because I know where he went, you know, eventually the hardship that they had, you know, as father and son, and then where he wound up. Like, so it was a little rough.
Yeah, that was I do so enjoy the seeing the kids growing up, and you like watching these early episodes, you could see why this family just really captured the hearts of the nation, because the kids are what make the show what it is. And then to have seen just kind of Garrison, he wasn't even featured prominently, but just to have him on a couch interview and just have a few moments where he was on screen, it was like, oh man, you know, it hurts. It really hurts.
Right.
But go ahead.
I was just going to say the part that I like about Garrison, I've always admired about Garrison, Hunter. There's a few of the kids, Logan. The things that I really admired about them was the fact that they've always been extremely honest with their assessment of the situations and the things that were going on. I've always appreciated their honesty. But as with any family show, let's be honest, the kids do a lot of the heavy lifting.
True.
Comes to connecting the parents to the audience. The kids do a lot of heavy lifting. And the Brown family, they were blessed with amazing children. Like, their kids are amazing kids.
Really?
And so they did a lot of heavy lifting for the Brown family, like to connect them to a lot. And I don't think that, like you said, and I think I know you've put out videos talking about them not being compensated. They really need to get broke off, because they were really a fundamental part of this show, and they haven't gotten their flowers.
Nope. And you can tell that these kids are good kids, because the Duggars all have YouTube channels and they're all like writing books and spilling tea or whatever. Like, we know just how dark it got being a child of Jim Bob Duggar. But these kids are like, lips are sealed. They're not out there trash talking. And like the little bits of tea that we get from like McKelty or back when Gwen was doing her Patreon on YouTube, it was kind of like by accident. They would like let something, they never purposefully went out there to like drag anyone through the mud.
Right.
So, but I just so thoroughly enjoy the Sister Wives look back. It's making me real excited for season 19 whenever we get that. I hope that's going to come after Forbidden Love. That's what I think, right?
You know what? There is a part of me that just thinks that TLC is tired of making money. I think they've actually grown legitly tired of making money. They look at their bank account like, oh, that's too lovely. It's too fluffy. Oh, I could pay my bills. No struggling. Oh, I don't like that. Because they've been dropping the bag since season 18. Like season 18 ends, then all of a sudden they rush out episodes. You know what I mean? They're about a year and a half, 2 years behind as far as like the storyline in the show to what's actually going on. And then they're slow about announcing, like, when the show is coming out. You guys don't know. Why are you holding it back? Tell us.
Season
I don't want you to plan for it.
August 20th.
Oh, that's what they said?
No, that's when season 18 premiered last year. Was August 20th. So it's like we are waiting by the phone for an announcement. But in the meantime, we do have Forbidden Love, which I am thoroughly enjoying. I see, like, I follow a bunch of different podcast recaps that are covering Forbidden Love, and it's people have really mixed feelings about it. I've had people message me on Instagram saying that, they gave it a shot. They, took my advice. They gave it a shot, but they just couldn't get into it. I love it. I love it. What are your overall thoughts, James, so far?
It's a different show. It's a different show. And for the most part, I think that a lot of the problems is just the fact that, like, what's creepy to me, I won't even say problems with the show, but what's creepy to me is that they have people who insist on converting other people to their religion. Like, if you know that you have a full stop, bottom line, absolute criteria that a person must meet to be with you, if they're not rocking that criteria, why are you trying to make them into something that they're not? Like, that's just creepy as hell to me.
Typically, I know converting does happen. Like, people do convert to religions and they have all types of motivations for why they convert to different religions, but it's not the norm. People aren't just out there changing religions like they're changing their shirts. It's typically your religion is a very like integral part of who you are. And that's why I find this show so fascinating. Because we do see that it is a problem, even for the couples who didn't think it would be that big of a problem, like Lori and Eli. She kind of said her piece, kind of turned away from Catholicism, but she's still, you would think then she wouldn't have a problem just converting to Judaism, Orthodox Judaism, but she is struggling.
Right.
So I find it just very fascinating. So this was season 1, episode 4. I didn't write down the title. But anyways, let's start off with Ashley and Muhammad. We're picking up after the Prison Brews birthday party. With the white trash bash that is Ashley's family. Muhammad said they're back in their hotel room, and Muhammad is just saying that Sister Jen is fake as fuck. And I was like, yeah. No
Right.
lies detected. She is
Right.
queen of the double down, triple down. She will not admit she called this man a terrorist.
She's just riding that heavy, and it's disturbing as hell. And depending on your situation, folks' situations, maybe people like that, or maybe you've had the unfortunate, luck where you've actually dealt with people like that. I've dealt with people like that. It is extremely difficult.
Yeah, that
And
sucks.
yeah, there is a point where, not direct family members, but just to keep it always stacked. But there is a point where you just have to say to yourself, either I'm going to overlook it and I'm going to let it go in order for the sake of me keeping this relationship, or I just can't associate with you anymore. And
Mhm.
that's the weird place that I think that he finds himself. But the one thing that I wish he would have said to her directly is, at the end of the day, like when he calls her over to have the conversation, and you're having that conversation between the two of you, there's some things we can talk about with that. But I wish he would have looked at her and just said directly, look, you don't like me, and how I feel about you is irrelevant. But the
Mm,
one thing that we have in common is we both love, Ashley. And for her sake, we have to be able to associate with each other and deal with each other. We don't have to love each other, like each other, whatever the case may be. But for her sake, because you're very important to her, and I'm very important to her with our daughter, and I'm her husband, and I'm important to her, we have to be able to deal and associate with one another. That's
mhm,
it. You know what I mean? And just leave it there. And it
mm.
doesn't have to be, you don't have to be right. Sometimes there's when married couples, old timer once told me, he said, you can either be married or you can be right. Sometimes you can't have both. And I
Yeah,
think most
yeah,
relationships work like that.
yep. So we see, so they're gonna go to like a petting zoo or a farm or something,
Mhm.
like a little family event. And Ashley is in a tank top, form-fitting little black dress. And this is the thing that I have a problem with, because they show up. I forget what the proper name is for the dress that Ashley was wearing to the birthday party, but she was wearing everything but the head covering. And
Right.
then Muhammad was in his thobe. And it's like, you clearly did that because you guys don't dress like that in your everyday life. Um, you clearly dressed like that to antagonize her family, which
Right.
like seems messed up. Like, obviously they shouldn't be racist. Like, I'm definitely not excusing that. But it seems like, are you just trying to like rub salt on the wound, or stand stoke the flames, or whatever that saying is? I don't know.
Right. Just the muddy in the waters, because that's all it did. Like, but I do appreciate the fact, like, even on that front, I have an issue with something Muhammad did, but on that front, I do appreciate the fact that she came in and she was wearing something a little more revealing, a little more Americanized, I guess, Western, if you will, um, to demonstrate that she can wear other clothing. That
Oh,
she's not,
okay.
yeah, she's not, he's not sitting there. You're going to, put on a bed sheet before you walk out the room. Like, she actually has to wear, she can wear whatever she wants to wear. So
Right.
that does show that she has freedom and autonomy when it comes to what she's wearing. I don't know the outfit. I couldn't find the outfit name either. But the one thing that I did bother me was when he said you should wear it, and it was both him and Eli. Oh, you need to, because in
Mhm.
both religions they say that the women have to cover themselves and they have to be covered. Quiet as it's kept, the other religions, as what Islam as well as Judaism, Orthodox Judaism, the men are supposed to cover up too. We never talk about that. But
Yeah.
the men are also supposed to be covered up. Men aren't supposed to be walking around with short sleeve shirts on with their legs showing. They're
Yeah.
not supposed to be doing that either. But
Yeah.
it's funny to me that these hyper, religious guys who want to, I gotta follow the word of the Lord, and you gotta do what the God says. but they same time they'll turn right around and impose that on their female counterpart, their lady counterparts, or their significant others, but they don't carry that in their own heart for themselves. You have to keep if you're going to have a standard, you have to hold yourself to that standard too. So, especially when it's hot outside.
It certainly seems hypocritical to comment on what your significant other is wearing if you yourself are not adhering to your very conservative, fundamental, like whatever you're supposed to be adhering to. If you're not following that, how can you expect your significant other to?
Right. Exactly.
And then Eli has a whole other problem because he literally is covered in tattoos, and that is like, so he just has to accept the fact, like, they're allowing him to still be Orthodox Jewish with covered in tattoos. So I mean, if I'm a Lori, I'm thinking, well, if they're gonna make an exception for this guy, why can't they make an exception for me?
You're right.
Maybe she's gonna try to push the boundaries.
That was hands down my favorite scene thus far on the show, when he was like, look, you got to put on the because he gave her a Star David and he wanted to wear it. She didn't have it on because she didn't feel Jewish. So we can talk about that in a minute if you like. But
let's talk about Eli and Lori. I mean, the only thing that I'm looking forward to with Ashley and Muhammad is on the next time on, we're gonna learn the story behind, I don't know, what
TV Gate, where she destroys the TV
how
in
she
game.
breaks like 12 TVs. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, you're out of hand at that point. Like, I thought it was one TV in a video game. I'm like, even that's like, I'm not, look, 90 Day Fiance, I'm compelled to do a video about some of the foolishness I've seen on that. I am one of those people, I don't like, physical stuff on any level. Like, don't be breaking stuff around me. Don't be acting like you can't control yourself. You don't act like you're going to put your hands on me. I do not like that at all.
Nope. This is basic stuff that I have to reiterate to my daughter. Your hands are for yourself. You don't put your hands on other people without their consent in any form or fashion.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all.
No.
At all.
And I tell my daughter, because she will, as little kids tend to do, I'm angry, I'll throw my teddy bear or something. And it's like, I tell her, you know what that says to me is that you don't care about that very much. And how sad is it? Because I know you do care about it. Why would you want to, ruin something that you actually love just because you're upset? Like, let's not express ourselves that way.
Right. Let's not break stuff. And if you break it, I'm not replacing it.
12 TVs? Are you kidding me? And where? Like, I'm not replacing, if I'm Muhammad's brother, I forget his name, but like, I'm not replacing my TV if I know that Ashley's just going to come over to my house again because this girl is going to break my shit. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at that point, you're not welcome at the crib.
Did you go into a Best Buy and just like take a bat to it? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. Well, because the whole thing is insane. And the issue I have is that even like you're talking about, like, as a parent, like, I don't want to, I've always tried to enforce that, because the one thing I've always been concerned about is people being able to put a battery in your back, what they used to call back in the day, putting a battery in your back, being able to trigger you and cause you to put yourself in a situation where now somebody else has control over you. Because if you can't control yourself and you get so mad and so angry that you have to put your hands on somebody or you start acting out, then it's easy for somebody to trigger you and cause you to do something that's going to run you afoul of the law. And all they got to do is pick the phone up. I don't want you living here no more. I get you pissed off enough to where you start breaking stuff. I call the cops up. The cops show up. Oh, look, she broke 15 of my TVs plus my game. And then you're arrested that day, or you don't get arrested. They write a report. I go down to the courthouse. I file a PFA, protection from abuse order, or TRO, temporary restraining order, and you can't come home anymore.
And at what
You know,
point is this woman going to be responsible for like property damage? Because
right.
like now we're getting into like the thousands upon thousands of dollars. It's like I can't afford to have Ashley come over to my house.
Right. Every time she gets upset, she want to break some. No, we don't do that.
I
And
had
I'm
a
not.
friend in college that they called her Laura Liability because she would.
She
I love you,
breaks
Laura,
stuff.
if you're listening, but she would kind of act a fool sometimes, and this Ashley liability. Like she is a
Right.
liability to have her.
Right. Well, hey, Laura, but if you watch it, I understand. But look, I'm telling you, I just don't like it because
No.
especially like acts of violence and and even with 90 Day, I have a pet peeve with one of the characters or personalities on that show,
Uh-huh.
and even the cast and even TLC, because sometimes when it's a lady who acts out and does things that are oversteps the bounds of like physicality, as far as like breaking stuff, putting hands on you, running up on you like they're going to do something to you physically, people tend not to take those things serious. I take them very serious
Yeah.
because as big as I am, as tough as I may think I am, I recognize the fact that I could be, hurt, maimed, or put in a cemetery by somebody who is significantly smaller than me, especially if they pick something up. They can't control themselves. They grab something because they want to hurt me and they go upside the back of my head. That's it. Lights out. So you can be hurt. So I'm very cautious about people who can't control themselves.
Yep.
And that's the one thing that, I'm not a fan of that.
No. But you know who's a fan of yelling and screaming on the streets of Los Angeles? Eli and Lori.
Yeah. They don't hold back.
We're all about gotta cover up, gotta make sure you're, not looking a fool, but we're gonna curse and scream at each other and just cause a whole scene. This
Yeah, right.
this made me a little uncomfortable. What was your take on this argument?
Well, like I said, this was for this particular show, especially the best scene was when they start arguing, because they start arguing about the clothes. For those who aren't aware, they start arguing about the clothes and outfits. And he starts criticizing her because she's not wearing the Star of David. She's like, I'm doing all this for you. I'm wearing, like, she has like the yoga pants underneath so she can go work out in this top. So like a kind of a crop top so she can work out. And over top of that, in Los Angeles, probably in the summertime, she has a sweater that she's wearing and a long dress so that she can cover up because they're in a Jewish neighborhood. And she's like, I'm wearing all this stuff and you're walking around with all the tattoos. Why don't you cover up? He said, I don't have a sweater. And she's like, hey, take mine. And she takes her sweater off and thoughts at him. Classic. I was so that gave me the giggles. I had a case of the giggles. Like that was
well, yeah. So Lori's whole thing is she didn't feel comfortable wearing the Star of David yet because she hasn't actually converted. I actually saw, but when you get down to like the meat of each other's viewpoints, I actually saw both sides. So I see what Lori's saying. She has not converted. She feels like she needs to like go through that process before she starts wearing the Star of David or wearing the wig or whatever. I totally understand that. At the same time, I can completely sympathize that I am sure that Eli has experienced horrendous anti-Semitism and he was very triggered, like hair trigger, at the thought of her rejecting Judaism. It was like, you won't wear the necklace? Like, people yell at me all the time. Like, oh, they're, whatever. So I can completely understand that he is so sensitive to people judging him and judging his faith. So it was just neither one of these people, but especially Eli. Eli does not manage his emotions very well.
Right. And that's the one thing that like, because I understand more so. I wish they would have taken more time to talk about it because I understand where she's coming from. I draw the comparison that her wearing the Star of David from where she is would be like if I was in medical school and I'm studying to be a doctor and I'm on the last week of maybe finals. I'm not going to start walking around with a white coat and a stethoscope hanging around my neck. You know what I mean? I'm not there yet. I don't have the job. I don't have my license. I haven't passed medical school. I have a whole bunch of other steps that I need to do to get to that point. And I want to really, when I reach that point, I feel like, and this is me, I feel like if I was pretending all the way that I had it and I'm already doing the stuff that I would be doing if I've achieved that ultimate goal, then when I achieve that goal, it means that much less. Like for instance, if you were a young person and you start drinking when you're 15 years old, then by the time you hit 21, it doesn't mean a whole lot for you to go to the bar and have that first drink. You know what I mean? Like, this is nothing. Yeah. You already got your drinks all already lined up, but you want to drink. So it's kind of in that level. But for Eli, I think that he was too sensitive about his pain and he kind of trauma dumped all over her.
He went in there and broke 12 emotional TVs. Like,
right.
It was like, whoa, buddy. Like
really bad.
A little bit of an overreaction.
I'm tired of all this anti-Semitism. Like, bro, that's not what she's saying. She's
but I can only imagine because I honestly I can't imagine, but I believe him when he says that it's been fucking hard to be Orthodox, living his life. And we get a little bit more backstory on his addiction. It seems like it wasn't just alcohol that he was struggling with. He actually tells a story, and this is really sad and a little bit triggering for me. He passed out on the sidewalk, had done some pills or something. I have a friend of mine that I went to high school with, hit my microphone, in Los Angeles last year, struggling with drug addiction. He fell asleep on a sidewalk. He got hit by not on the sidewalk, in the street, but like close to the side. He got hit by a trash truck and he died. So it's like Eli is like really lucky to be alive. So
things happen to you. You fall asleep.
I really hope that these two are not holding each other responsible for their sobriety, which I don't think is happening, but I'm worried because I think Eli had said he was sober for 2 years before he met her, but they did meet in AA. So I'm very worried that these two are pinning their sobriety on each other.
Right. Well, I mean, that's one of the complications because that's what we had talked about, I think, last week. That anytime you have these kind of recovery programs, that's one of the key things as to why they don't want you dating. They certainly want you to try to hold back from dating or causing any type of trauma or negative circumstance, or at least minimize it as possible. One, but two, they definitely don't want you trying to date each other because if when you have any type of addiction, you're always a bad experience or a bad day away from going right back to where you were. And so it's a process. That's why, a lot of times they don't, when they talk, you hear people talk about like drug, alcohol, food, gambling, whatever the case may be. They always refer to it as recovery, not cured. You know what I mean? I'm cured of alcoholism. No, you're not. You're recovering because you at any time you could walk into a bar this afternoon and be, you'd be right back in it. So there's always that point. And then, so you don't want to have any triggers that might cause them to relapse. And then on top of that, if one relapses, there's a possibility they'll take the other one with them because of association.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so concerned. But I will say that I think the two of them really love each other. I just don't know. I'm worried about Eli's emotions. I think he's a very emotional guy, and I don't think that Lori deserves a lot of his like
Right.
outbursts. So we'll see. We'll continue to keep our eye on these two.
Well, let me ask you a question. Because
Mhm.
even with that, there is a point, like, because Lori didn't take it this way. To her credit, she did not take it this way. But there is an opening where she could have looked at that same situation and exacerbated it by simply asking this. When you say that I'm not proud to be Jewish or be associated with Jewish people, and I don't like Jewish, and I'm giving you that anti-Semitic feeling, is that what you think of me? Because Lori could have turned that right back to him and
Sure.
questioned him, saying, like, you're saying that you have all these feelings because you feel like all this negative feeling towards you being Jewish from your experiences. You're saying that I have that, and that's what I'm doing. So that could have went way left. And
That would have been a real Robin Brown move if she
right.
turned it around and made it all about herself.
Like,
Robin would have
checkmate.
totally done something like that.
Yeah. Well, they probably wouldn't even got down the street. I'm not wearing this because when I was a child, and then it would have turned into a whole conversation.
I want to talk Chris and Lensa. Man, it's time to go to Pentecostal church. Lensa's in town visiting Chris and his family. And so actually Lensa is having the opposite problem. She is too covered. She comes out head covered, very like long sleeve sweater. Like she is very covered to go to church. And Chris is like, oh, come on. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And
My daddy.
she was like, no, like this is what I would wear to the mosque. Like I'm doing this to show respect. Like I totally understood when she was explaining herself. She is very well spoken. I really like Lensa. She explains herself very well. And so she's saying, like, I'm doing this as a sign of respect. The other thing I liked is Lensa, so she ends up taking some stuff off. She takes off her head covering. She takes off the sweater. So she's in short sleeves. She goes to church. She tells us, and this is why I like her so much. She tells us she felt like a sellout because she faced adversity and she gave into it.
Right.
And I'm like, damn, Lensa, like, oh, like that.
Yeah, she's very intense. She's very intense with herself.
One of those parents that gives you the speech, like, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Like,
right.
I was like,
right.
Oh. But so the sermon is a very targeted sermon towards her about if you don't accept Jesus, if you don't recognize him, you're condemned to hell. Lensa is just being berated about her religion, and there's no tolerance, there's no respect coming from Chris's family, and I think that that's extremely unfortunate and so short-sighted. I cannot imagine that they don't see or acknowledge the fact that Christianity is not the only game in town. It's not the only religion. People believe different things.
Right.
But he clearly doesn't think that anybody else is right. And of course, like, people are going to think that their religion is the right religion, but you don't disrespect other people.
Right.
So it's like, it's in very poor taste, his family, the way they're acting towards her. What did you think?
Well, I mean, first with her outfit to go to church, I thought that her outfit to go to church was actually really nice. Like, I thought it was well coordinated. I thought it was a beautiful outfit. I didn't have an issue with it because you could go to, aside from going to a mosque, you could go to a Sunday service and see somebody wearing an outfit similar to that.
At the Vatican, a lot of Catholic women wear head coverings at the Vatican.
Right. Yeah. Because it goes across faith. Like the whole covering, women covering their hair, that does go across all faiths. Like, at least the big three: the Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. So it's not completely out of school for her to do that. That's why some of the women in the church are wearing hats. That's why they're wearing hats. But aside from that, like, I think that there's so much emphasis, and this is where I say that a lot of these relationships won't work, because there's so much emphasis on his part that she has to conform to his faith, his belief. You have to make yourself fit into my church and my experience. And he's not taking into account that she is a Muslim woman. You understand what I mean? Like, so, and being Muslim is so much a part of her personality, because as you said earlier, it is part of your identity. When you're that deep into the mix, it's part of who you are.
Right.
And so for you to say that I like this about you, but I don't like that, and I want to change that, you're changing a fundamental foundational part of who she is. So do you really like her? You know what I mean? And I think that that's where their relationship is doomed. And I didn't like the personal pet peeve. Just in my my system of belief, I don't appreciate the what is the carrot and the stick. I don't appreciate the stick type of preaching, where you're telling people all the time that they going to hell. You can't scare somebody into loving you. And I don't think you can scare people into loving God and Jesus. Like, I just don't think that works. I think that it works if you show kindness, understanding, you show compassion, you make people interested in what are you on that got you walking around all day smiling. That's how you pull people in. Not, you going to hell if you don't believe what I believe.
Yeah.
Who the shit want to be?
Chris's dad is just a parent of a toddler that has just had enough and is like, you are going to brush your teeth before you go to bed. Like,
I don't
hang with this gentle parenting. I've had enough.
Exactly. I don't hang out with people. Like, if I know there's a group of guys and they have problems with other guys, I don't join that group of guys called a gang, I guess. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to join the blood gang because they got a problem with the Crips. And apparently, if I come to your church, I got a problem with somebody. So that's how you wind up in crazy places. I just think it's unattractive, and it's not appealing to her. And him trying to scare her is more a reflection of him and his insecurities. The fact that you can't accept that if your faith is so strong, and I give this challenge all the time to anybody, if your faith is so strong, you should be able to stand in the face of anybody and be comfortable in your skin as far as your faith and your walk is concerned. You shouldn't have to diminish anybody else's for you to feel strong in yours. And that's kind of what I got.
And what I noticed is we've heard from Chris's family, his parents, about how important their religion is to them. We've heard from Lensa how important her religion is to her. I have not heard Chris with a testimony of himself about how important his Christianity is to him. So I feel like if anyone's more likely to convert, it would be him too. As like Lensa is not having any of this. Like, no way.
She's not coming off of it.
No. And like you pointed out, there's no. Why should she? She keeps getting berated and offended. She's being subjected to abuse at this point.
Right. Well, because even to your point about Chris's dedication to the religion, I'm not going to sit here and say he's not a true believer. But I
haven't heard him talk about being like convicted to his faith the way Lensa is obviously very convicted about what she believes. So it's like, if this is your parents' religion and you're trying to appease your parents, like, let us know.
Right. Well, I think that that's exactly where it is.
Yeah.
I think that, like, the feeling I have is that if Chris decides to become a Muslim, he's going to get the Eli treatment, or the one guy from the Amish family. He's going to get that kind of treatment. Yeah. I think he's going to get the Elmer. He's going to get Elmer.
I honestly, it would be easier for him to die than for the dad. It would be easier for Chris to meet some terrible fate than to convert.
Right.
And
Because
that's a horrifying thing to even say.
right.
But I think that
His
that's
dad is a believer. His dad believes.
for sure.
So he feels it in his spirit. And because he feels it in his spirit, he feels like if Chris converts, that he's turning his back not only on God, but he's turning his back on him too. He's gonna internalize that rejection. And so I think Chris trying to keep his family together, I think that's part of the reason. And like I said, I don't know for sure, but that's just the feeling I get, is that part of his incentive to try to get her to convert is because he wants to maintain a relationship with his parents. But I don't think Lindsay's going for I don't think it's going to happen.
No, he picked the wrong girl.
Right.
She is very sure of herself and what she believes in. She's not type to blow in the wind. But she says at the end, because she gets up and leaves because she's so offended by, and rightfully so. And she says that Chris's dad is not God. And I just had the thought, like, I am sure that God really wishes people would stop putting words in his mouth. Like, let God, like, people are like, this is what God wants. This is what God wants. The only way to get to heaven is this, X, Y, Z. And it's like, right. I agree with you, Lensa. Like, none of us are God.
Right.
You know?
Well, it's the Garrick from Seeking Sister Wives.
Oh my God.
I was talking to God because it's in my best interest to have three wives.
When you were talking gangs, James, I didn't go Bloods Crips. I went the Always Thuggin' crew.
Right. And you knew we were gangsters because we misspelled crew. So that's how you knew we were deep. But I think that's part of it. I'm just not a fan of it, because that's in line with the whole thing about like threatening people. Like, I've always taken a position that if you are a Christian, and I don't want to get too preachy, but if you're a Christian, your whole system of faith is based on the idea that God sent Jesus down to pay your tab. So he's paying your tab into heaven. You didn't do anything. He paid for you to get there. So you are the plus one. You're the plus one. You're at the party. You're not on the list. You're the plus one. And now you're standing at the gate, at the door, telling people who can come in and who can't come in.
Right.
You don't have the authority. You don't have the moral authority to stand and tell people who can come in and who can't come in, because your ass is a plus one. Right. You hear about on somebody else's invitation, bro.
We barely made it. We barely made the guest list.
And that's what I'm hoping for.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a little grace. I'm hoping for some breaks.
God is never going to make me the bouncer at the pearly gates, getting to decide who's coming in, coming out.
Exactly. I'm hoping for the slide through.
For that.
We're going to go ahead and let you in, player. One more thing, though.
Oh, man. So I just really feel bad for Lensa, and I feel bad for Chris too. It's like, I mean, I think I saw some comment like these two clearly want to have relations with each other. They're two very attractive people. And that they're trying to figure out if this has long-term potential, and I don't think it does.
Yeah. Was it Danny Towns? He said something, and I completely agree with it. She said that, I like them separately. Like, separately, I think they're lovely folks, but the two of them together is just not going to work, because you have to, at some point, you have to get on the same page, and it's not enough for you just to be attracted to somebody physically, or for you to like what they do, or, you like they swag, or there's something sexy about them. Like, there has to be more to it. Yeah. Because, when the lights go out and the cigarettes get smoked, there has to be some kind of conversation there. That's what my mom used to say about, like, after the boom boom happened. Yeah. But you got to have something more there than just that superfluous thing. And I think that they don't have that thing because, whether for whatever reason, he's vested in his parents' religion, whether it's because he's a true believer or because he wants to have a relationship with his parents. And that's important to him.
Mm-hmm.
And she's vested in Islam, which is important to her. You can't have it both ways. You can't walk on both sides of the street. Some things you can't compromise on, you know?
Yeah. And it's really, and this is why I find this show fascinating, because it's like, I think these two people are attracted to each other. They care about each other.
Mhm.
If it wasn't for this huge deal breaker,
Right.
they could have it all. But
Right.
oh man,
If you can mind wipe their religion and stuff out of their entire mindset and environment, they would actually probably be happy together.
And there's people that make interfaith relationships work. That's not to say that that's impossible. I think we had someone in the chat last week that said that they grew up Muslim and Catholic, or Muslim and Christian, and that it worked. Their parents, it was fine. So that's not to say that it can't work, but for any of these couples, not possible.
Right. Yeah, because it has to go beyond just simple. Because usually what happens is there's a point of tolerance that's given, but it has to go beyond tolerance in order for it to work, and it has to go to acceptance
and respect.
I think that
Yeah.
And I don't think that, like, the way they are rooted, I don't think that they respect the other faith enough to be able to. Because even with the way they talk about her faith. Like when I know we talked a little bit about it last week when they were at the dinner, and the father was talking about her faith. Oh, you don't put Jesus in it? Oh, because the Holy Spirit, and he's going through the whole thing. Doing all that. It really, for her, if she doesn't understand what you're talking about, that could be scary. Could you imagine, like, and this is like, I grew up Christian. I've been around. I'm a Catholic. I've been around this world, so I understand what they say when I hear I was filled with the Holy Spirit, or I was filled with the Holy Ghost, right? But for somebody who is not part of the Catholic denomination, when you say that a spirit has entered your body, what you're talking about is possession. That's what they hear. They hear possession. So when you say that a spirit has entered my body, and all of a sudden I start speaking in tongues, a foreign language that nobody can understand, it's supposed to be native to the spirit, then it's off-putting to these different religions. So you think you're like, and this is where I say, like, he thought he was laying it down, like, oh, I was filled with the Holy Spirit, but it could be horrifying for her. And part of that is just you having a conversation with her, talk with her instead of talking to her about your religion. And that way you can maybe understand where she's coming from, and she can understand where you're coming from. But you can't, what do you say? I'm gonna have to hard teach her or something like that.
Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, what does that mean?
Right. You're not a pop. Like, stop it. Like, what are you doing?
Oh man. Well, I have some tea that we need to talk about with Elmer and Lindsay. Because apparently I saw on the Reddits that these two, there's a bit of relationship timeline fraud. So I think on the show, they say they've been together for like, I don't know, like a year or something. They've been together for like 6+ years. But if we're doing math, and I'm not good at math, but I'm decent. Elmer's 23. And so we're talking maybe not 18 when he gets with Lindsay.
Yeah.
And I'm uncomfortable. And now I'm uncomfortable.
Right.
I was already uncomfortable because, a 23-year-old Amish man is certainly not what a 23-year-old of the world young man would be, and so I already felt like he was fighting an uphill battle for what she wants out of a partner. And now it's like we learned that they possibly could have been together when he was like a minor still. It's like,
Yeah, and she was a solid adult. Like that's not.
Oh yeah, because she's 34 now.
Right. So she would have been 28. So that was, she's a solid adult. Like that's not even I was 21 and he happened to be 17. Like that's not what that. We could
No.
have been in high school together. No. No.
And it's like, so we're talking grooming for sure.
Right.
But it's like, were you shopping in the Amish community? Because the Amish typically don't like, so you're not going to say, oh, he was still in high school, because the Amish, I don't think they typically go through high school. I'm not 100% sure, but usually they're working by then. So he, you could be like, oh, he's already out and working, and
Well, I mean, I'll say this because it also doesn't explain. It explains a lot in one sense, because he does seem really well adjusted to the English world. Far more than somebody who is just newly entered into the English world.
Good point. Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He's really, because I mean, he's driving like that monster truck. Like you don't go from horse and buggy to that, the Ford 350.
That's true. That's
clean
true.
sweep. So that does explain that. But it actually makes the story that they tell about how they met. Because if he worked with his brother and he was going over to her house to do the roofing, they could be, he could be working with the family to do it. Because they do have like Amish, like I'm not that far from the Amish, and they do have like a thing where they will come down and do sheds and decks and stuff.
Oh, okay.
People's houses, yeah. So they do that. Like, so they do work with the English, if you will. But yeah, it explains, like, remember she said, well, I came over and I invited him over to the house, and then I said we can go upstairs and we could lay on the sheets or something. Like that explains, because at first I was like, okay, maybe because he's Amish and is like super innocent, but if he's that young, that really explains like his naivete as to what was going on.
It's reminding me of like teachers that like take advantage of their students. It's like I'm so grossed out.
Yeah, but that also hits another one of my pet peeves, because I am not a fan of because when that happens, let's keep it all the way a stack. I'll say in my opinion, when that happens with the female teachers, they are not treated the same way as the male teachers are treated.
For sure, yeah.
Because if you had a 26, 28-year-old man and he's dating a 16-year-old, and especially pregnant, like get her pregnant, people are losing their minds. People talking about they going to jail, you know what I mean? If they catch him in the streets and all that other kind of stuff. But in this situation, because she was, she's a decent enough looking woman, and he was 16 and he was young, and oh, bro, that's kind of hot. Where were all the women when I was young? And that should have happened to me, and wish it was me instead of him, and all that.
Right.
And they go home. Like the guys, the teachers, the older guys who get caught in this kind of stuff, they go to jail. The ladies, they typically go home on probation or parole. And I think that's completely inappropriate, because you're hurting kids.
Yeah, for sure. We will try to suss out some receipts of that and find out just, I don't want to unfairly malign Lindsay, but
makes sense. Scary as hell though. and that's I'm sorry, but I want to step on it, but the this is in line with some of the stuff with TLC. Like if TLC allowed this to slip through again, like this is another black eye for the production company and for the channel, because this isn't like the first time they've had things like this happen on their show, or they've had abusive people or people who really they shouldn't be spotlighting on their programs. So I hope it's not true, because it just for several reasons I hope it's not true.
Yeah.
But it does kind of make some sense.
But for now, they're on their way to a birthday party. Amish don't do birthday parties, but they do choke you out for your birthday.
Right, apparently.
What?
To be honest with you, I'll be kind of okay with people not knowing or forgetting my birthday if it usually results in me getting unconscious.
Yeah, right. If it's physical assault or nothing, I'll take nothing.
Right, exactly. Like it's not like you choke me out and I wake up in a Corvette. Like, you know what I mean? Like these guys just choke you out and let you sleep.
Yeah, the big the other tea, I guess, that was revealed this episode is Lindsay finds out that cousin Wilma actually talks to her family on the down low. So now Lindsay is in her mind trying to find a way to parent trap Elmer and his family, like get them back together, she's gonna have a kid, it's gonna make all the parents come around. Like she is just working this out 1,000 miles an hour to where we ultimately see on the next time on that she's gonna role play as an Amish person. And I think is this the scene where Elmer is like, "Oh, you look like my sister."
Yeah. I think she does it. From what I'm picking up, she may be doing it not as like a kink thing, which was what I thought it was at first, which is kind of
that's what I thought too. But I think she's dressing up to go to the community,
right, to blend in.
Yeah.
But they're sneaking onto the compound, and this is what I call bullshit because they're sneaking onto the compound with cameras and a big floodlight. So for people who don't believe in electricity, like what do you think is coming across the field? The sun is crossing the field. Like, come on. And
none of these Amish people are gonna sign releases to be on camera.
Right. Well, because that's another thing. Because even Wilma, she said that she had revealed that even though she talks to her parents, if she ever drives by the house or she sees them out and somebody else is around, she'll drive by like she doesn't even see them because she's afraid to tip people off that she's still in contact because the family will get put out, they'll get shunned. So he's like, by her doing it, I understand that you want to do this because you care about your husband and you're trying to get the family back together, but you also have to take into account that you can cause undue pain because of what you want. And from that, you have to tread very carefully because you don't want to put them in a situation where the family, they sitting there talking to Elmer and they hugging on him, and the elders come walking up, and then Malachi tell you that you got to leave.
Yeah,
take your parents with you.
Yeah. So. James, what do you have coming down the pipeline this week?
I will be releasing additional videos, so watch out for that. I'm talking about Mary this week. I did a video yesterday talking about what was it? Robin and her whole image problem. I also had a video about Cody talking about his image problem. Okay. And I have on my new channel, Family Law, I did drop a video on there. So go and check that out. This one is about the Kia boys. There's a young man who steals a car. He's out with his girlfriend and her friends. He steals a car, and because his car broke down. So they all get into the new car, and the judge, this is a sentencing hearing. And so the judge decides as part of his punishment that since he agreed to probation, he could do up to 2 years in jail. But because he agreed to probation, she said during the course of his probation, he's no longer allowed to see his girlfriend. And so, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we get into the ins and outs of it, of why it's not as bad as it sounds and how it could have actually been far worse for his girlfriend, because stealing cars, if she was involved, she could have been arrested as well. It could have ruined her life. It could have been a whole mess. They're in Texas. This is a Texas case.
You don't want to mess up in Texas.
Texas and Florida, they got the pew laws, so you don't want to be.
You don't get on the straight and narrow.
Yeah,
Texas, for
sure. Sam your ass down in Texas, baby. But but what do you have coming up?
So I'm hoping tomorrow, if not tomorrow, then Wednesday, I am going to be covering TLC from 2015, a 1-hour special that they put out called "My Husband's Not Gay." And it's about these 4 Mormon men who experience same-sex attraction, but they do not identify as gay. And this was a very controversial show. GLAAD came out against it. There was a change.org petition that got over 100,000 signatures trying to get TLC to not air. This was before it even aired. Then TLC did air it. And so I'm going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Yeah.
Check that out. What is it called?
My Husband's Not Gay. Now, it is not on HBO Max. It is not on TLC Go, not to my knowledge. The only place I found it was on YouTube. I purchased it for $1.99. So you can watch it. It's not like totally scrubbed from TV history, but it's hard to find.
Wow. Speaking of which, they have a show airing on Hulu.
The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Secret Wives better watch their asses because I think Hulu's trying to make a play.
This is like Real Housewives meet Sister Wives. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah, they swapping and swapping. So
yeah.
Apparently if things get freaky deaky in Utah.
Yes.
Which is one of the things that struck me with that is that the OG3 and Robin and even Cody have always held out that Utah was like this ultra conservative place. Like anybody who knows anything about like Utah and some of their issues, their porn levels are crazy. Like they're real big in porn, but they're supposed to be a super conservative state, one of the more conservative states in the union.
Mm-hmm.
But this show flies directly in the face of all of that. You know what I mean? Remember when they said that we walk around and we judge people based on what they wear? Apparently they don't judge them when they switching keys and having key parties. So yeah, I'm kind of curious what this show is going to detail.
We will see. We'll probably have to add it to our rotation, James.
All right, put it in a repertoire. I'm telling you.
All right, you guys. Oh, thank you so much to our moderators. I know I saw B-Cat and I saw Lizzie.
Lizzie B.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And we'll check you guys out, or we'll see you guys in our next respective videos. So have a good night, everyone.
All right, take it easy.